Hello friend, and welcome back to the craft table at Sunny Mile Studio. It's getting to be about spring break time, so I thought we could do this seashell in honor of it. First I'm going to sketch it out, and one tip is to not put your horizon right in the center of your paper. Put it either up or below the center line. It just looks better that way for some reason to our eyes. So I'm going to do mine just above center. And I'm just going to try to capture the shape of the seashell. I'm going to start with a little knob at the top and kind of draw some other little knobs out, and then bring the top around. We're just trying to get the general gist of the shape here. And it's usually got this opening here. And bring the bottom around to it. Something like that. I'll move in and you can see it better. And then just draw from the edges of the little knobs, little lines across. Those will help when we're painting. Something like this. Now we're going to add some paint. And I'm using my Art Nouveau set. I'm starting with some kind of a taupe color at the top. And then I'm using this dark navy bluish gray. I think I'll do a few of those. I'm not trying to match the first one exactly, and you can use what colors you like. Let's see, I think I'll do a little of this kind of bright orange. Then maybe some of this mauve-y color. And then maybe some turquoise. Some more saturated, some lighter. Gotta get my arm more on the table. I'm a little shaky. Sometimes if you don't have your elbow on the table, it can make your arm shake. And I'm gonna use this turquoise, I think, in the whole part. And maybe some of that dark. I think I like the colors I used on this one better. But it's fun to experiment with different colors. And I've got to do a little bit more down here at the bottom. Maybe a little pink. And then maybe end it with a little bright green. I feel like I want to add some more of that green, a little right there. And right there. There. So there's our seashell. And now we're going to add the water and the sand. And I'm going to use a technique called dry brushing, which is actually your brush isn't really dry, it's damp. And just need to grab a different color here. Sorry. I've got a color this is yellow ochre, and that's a really good color to use for the sand. So I'm going to go in dark where it meets the sea here, and just kind of come around, just avoiding any wet paint that you might have on your seashell. And then getting paint on the brush, but then kind of dabbing it off so it's more damp, and then rubbing your brush on its side. It makes this, it's called dry brushing. I'll try it again here. You can see that. And then I'm going to get paint more saturated right around the bottom of the seashell here. And then I'm going to do a little bit more dry brushing over here. Whoop. My paintbrush was a little wet there. But you can see how it makes kind of a textured look when the brush is just damp. And then I'm going to use, let's see, this turquoise blue. And I'll probably do the same technique. I'm going to start in with saturated color right near the seashell. And make sure this edge is dry. If you touch it with if it's wet and you touch it with wet paint, it will bleed together. Which sometimes in watercolor you don't mind the bleeding, but in this instance, I want it to be a specific line definition there. There. And water is lightest closest to you, and as it gets farther away, it gets darker. So I'm just trying to lighten this up a tiny bit. Kind of smooshing the paint away. And now I'm going to try that dry brush again. So I load up my brush with paint, but then I'm going to dab it off so it's just damp. And then I just, whoop, takes practice. You can see I need practice too. Just kind of making it look like it's just the edge is fading away, I guess. So there's the seashell. Now we're going to go back in and add some dots and doodles on top. So you need to let this dry fully. And I have another one here that's all dry. And I'm going to use my Pigma Micron. It's a really fine point, the 005. And then this is an acrylic white, and the tip is 1 mm. Oops, there you go. So you can see on the one I already did, I'm just adding some dots along the different lines. And make sure your paint's all dry, because these will bleed. always make sure to get these pens, shake them up a little, have a scrap piece of paper just to get them started on, because they do tend to blob out or not work at the first try. That's just a helpful tip. So vary your dot sizes. You can make lines or zigzags or different things. You can just play around with it. I'm gonna add one more little row here. There. And oh, one other thing I didn't mention was, and I already put it on here, but when you, I'll go back to the one where we painted. When the yellow is dry, you can go in with, I would use kind of a gray color, like a light gray, and you can just add a shadow, just going in right where the seashell will touch the sand. This. Shadows can be tricky, but you just kind of try to darken right where underneath of it, and you can pull that away a little bit if it gets too dark, or you can mop it up with your brush. Just gives it a little bit more realistic touch. So there it is. I like to send these as blank cards, but you could always add a sentiment on it too. You could glue that right on. It was fun painting with you today, and I look forward to painting more with you soon. Have a great day.